welcome to the latest episode of AI Would Agree. Today we're here at a slightly earlier time, so apologies if I'm confusing anybody. We're unfortunately, we've got some unforeseen circumstances this afternoon, which means we've had to bring it forward a little bit. But rest assured, any of you that's normally viewing it at 3 o'clock, obviously the full video is still here, and you'll get to see it. Today's guest needs very little introduction in the world of contact centers and BPOs. Great pleasure to have John Devlin from Ascensos along today. Hi, John.
Hey, Paul. Good to see you.
How's it going today? You're in South Africa, right? I think you're my first South African location guest. So obviously, you're clearly not South African.
Yeah, no, I'm clearly not South African, but yes, I'm in Cape Town. This week, Paul, we're opening our second site here in Cape Town. So with the official opening last night, a lot of local BPO network in Africa were along with the usual dignitaries, etc. But all going really well. And apologies, I'm a little bit late in joining you, but again, just some unforeseen circumstances this morning.
This is life now, right? Congratulations on the opening, John. Seeing the videos on LinkedIn, the photos on LinkedIn, it looks really top class. Looks like you guys have had a good time. And to be honest, there must be a few of the guys there with sore heads this morning after last night if all went according to plan.
Listen, it was a cracking event, with a really good turnout. Some people that I've not seen in years, some people that I've never met in person. But you think you've met them, obviously. That's that old classic situation that COVID presented us with, meeting lots of people virtually and meeting them in the flesh last night was fantastic. A lot of our own guys there from our A team in South Africa as well. So it was a brilliant night. Really, really proud of everything that's been achieved.
Brilliant. Yeah. Congratulations. Looks like you guys are going sort of very much strength to strength. For anybody who's confused by why I titled this show, I love it when a plan comes together. You probably want to have a quick look at John's profile and the post that he put out on the back of my announcement for it. Obviously, as Ascensos, John refers to his team as the A team and uses the hashtag quite liberally. And yeah, great post that you put out. Like, I love that photo. I've not seen that before, but just goes to prove what we all thought was right was actually the case.
Yeah, that was Halloween a few years ago, and myself and some of the guys decided that we would try and replicate one of the classic images from the A team, and got as good as we could get to get it to the original photo. But we use the A team a lot, as you said, and I don't think we've infringed any copyright laws along the way.
No, that's fantastic. Awesome. And well, just for everybody who's watching us, wondering what we can expect from today. When I asked John what it is he wanted to discuss on today's show, we said we were going to discuss Paul Weller. What was the dates again, John? Sorry, 19.
Oh, well, it could be any dates actually, but I thought it was going to be a mastermind. You had to choose Paul Weller's career between two certain dates. So I went from 92 to 99, which his early stage of his solo career. But it could be any point of Paul Weller's illustrious career. I would be quite happy with mastermind questions.
Well, I haven't got any mastermind questions, John, other than between Paul Weller and customer experience.
Well, yeah, obviously these guys play to an audience, don't they? And they have to kind of make sure that they remain relevant for their audience, and move on with the times as well. And I think if there's any relevance, it would be that. If you want to survive, you want to remain relevant, for an ever-changing audience, whether that goes into Gen Z, etc., then you do have to modify your style, modify your output, modify your offering. And I think the same applies in our space. I've always had conversations with people about great entrepreneurs that you admire in your life, and I quite liberally talk about Paul Weller. And not many people think that. Usually go along the lines of Steve Jobs or Richard Branson, and Elon Musk, etc. All the obvious ones. But I think musicians and artists are very entrepreneurial, in terms of how they create an identity, how they create a brand, how they create a profile, how they create a market proposition for their product, and then they adjust that to remain relevant, for an ever-changing audience, and I think it's great example of longevity, remaining relevant, having your finger on the pulse when you see an artist that has survived over 4 decades and still sells out to audiences now.
Fantastic. I'm assuming that's you've been a
Well,
fan.
I'm not his marketing manager. Maybe I should.
10 of in the force. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And, I think, it's clear you guys have adopted, certainly over the last couple of years, really, really well. You've come out of the back end of COVID firing on all cylinders. I don't think, from what I've seen, I don't think you guys took too much of a step backwards. I spoke to a lot of call centers during the last couple of years where they were really trying to kind of reinvent themselves to get where they needed to be and to kind of combat the problems that they'd seen come from COVID, especially around the utilities area. A lot of businesses kind of realized that wasn't a market of growth for them, and potentially it was something that they needed to move away from. How much success have you guys had over the last couple of years on the back of, the foundations that you'd built?
Listen, we were well positioned, for COVID, on various fronts. Our still a relatively young business, 7 or 8 years old. Our tech stack was built, to be completely agile, completely flexible, work from anywhere solution. We didn't design it specifically for work from home. It was meant to be, a hub and spoke model, allow us to work from any location on a global basis. But it could very easily be adapted to work from home. Our IT guys will shoot me for saying it's very easy, because there's still a lot of heavy lifting to be done. But comparatively and relatively to other BPOs in our sector, I think we had the benefit of a tech stack that was young, flexible, agile, and able to be mobilized pretty quickly. So that helped. Equally, our market is retail e-commerce, and online retail done really well during the pandemic. A lot of our clients seen record sales growth, year-on-year sales growth, and we had to be in a position to be able to support that. In a lot of cases, we kept the lights on for our clients when their high street retail ops closed, and more of their sales and their activity moved online. Then we had to step into the breach and step up to the plate, really, in terms of how we supported our clients during those very difficult days. So yes, we were well positioned both in terms of our technology and in terms of the market sector that we operate within. And some of those retail volumes that increased during COVID have stuck. So we've seen in the home improvement space in particular, we've seen massive growth in the retail space, and some of that volume has stuck. So our business has accelerated greatly over the past 2 or 3 years. We've doubled the size of the business in the last 18 months to 24 months. And that has allowed us then to kind of expand our network and grow our portfolio of centres of excellence we've got now. During COVID, we didn't just kind of knuckle down and look after the operations we had. We expanded massively in Romania. We doubled the size of our operations in Romania. We opened a new site in Istanbul, and we also made the acquisition that allowed us to open in South Africa last year as well. So yes, we were opportunistic, absolutely. But being an entrepreneurial business, you have to be opportunistic. We've seen there was an opportunity for us to grow quickly and to expand our territorial reach, and that's exactly what we've done, Paul.
Fantastic. Yeah, kind of, and I guess that's kind of one of the reasons why the two businesses like TMAC and Ascensos came together in the first place. I think we mirror a lot of those ideals. Having started right at the beginning of the pandemic in anger as a data science consultancy, we kind of realized that it was either move or be bust. We recognized that now was the time to kind of strike while the iron was hot, while a lot of other businesses were perhaps thinking about scaling back or at least stagnating in the meantime in terms of new acquisitions and new business, and to really kind of put the foot on the gas. And I think the other side of things that drew me to you guys really was that retail. Obviously my background's in retail, and I saw that you guys, I like the idea that you portray yourselves as a boutique outsourcer and customer service provider. And I think that's, for retail, I think that's where there's a real niche in the market, um, being able
Yeah,
to.
listen, I mean, I don't see boutique meaning you have to be small. I think boutiques are state of mind.
Mm.
It's how you actually deliver bespoke solutions for your clients. It doesn't need to be small.
Yeah.
It just means bespoke, personalized, tailored, to your clients' requirements. And and we like working with like-minded businesses, which is why we like you guys, like Jimmy. We like the kind of entrepreneurial spirit, the energy, the passion. The kind of drive that TMAC have got, is one of the reasons that we like partnering with like-minded businesses that just get it. They just know, what feels right, and they've got a good instinct and a good gut feel for what is good business sense.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's been a real privilege for us to kind of test the waters with you guys and start making inroads on what our future developments look like, and working together with your teams to sort of figure out what our future roadmap might be alongside what we'd already planned. And I think it's safe to say there's some exciting years ahead for both sides of the business. What do you see coming next for the retail side of your business? Is it where do you anticipate the growth to be in the next couple of years? Because obviously COVID's changed the public mindset. Like, you said that growth in DIY that hasn't really gone away, and I suspect it's probably reawakened a lot of passions and hobbies and skills in people that they were able to put the time into over COVID that they can now carry on with. What's next in your eyes? Where do you see the future technology and contact centers?
There's certainly a massive trend in our sector, in the retail sector of direct to consumer. A lot of manufacturers, have now used the opportunity that COVID presented of establishing their own ability to transact online without necessarily having to go through the middleman of a retail operator. So, and you see this, buy direct from the people who made it. You see that all the time. That message is coming out there. Why wouldn't you buy direct? From people who created, made, who love the product more than anyone else, the manufacturer themselves. We're starting to work more in that space now, working directly with manufacturers, rather than coming through the retail arm. There'll always be a need for a retail channel, obviously, but there is a growing drive towards D2C, and we are seeing that kind of pivot quite quickly now into working with manufacturers, working with the groups who own some of the brands themselves, in terms of how we deliver customer support for their kind of burgeoning online transactions. Now they're driving through their own e-commerce sites. So that's a significant. Now, listen, obviously there will be a return to people going back on holiday again and high street fashion, and the need for that to bounce back. I'm sure we'll see that this year. A huge pushback in terms of how consumers are spending wisely, and there'll be more pressure on everyone's purse and everyone's wallet this year than there has been for some time, obviously, maybe 40 years. If you look at inflation costs, cost of living increases in the UK, still got rising energy costs to come later in this year. It shows no sign of abating yet. So there will be pressure on discretionary spending, and there may be some adjustment there. I think the food retailers will do pretty well, especially the discounters, and we work with one of the larger grocers in that space, the competitor, the one that you used to work with, and who should never be mentioned. But that's, but we've seen that, didn't we? We've seen that last time around, during the credit crunch 12 years ago or so, that the discount grocers, the discount retailers really accelerated their propositions at that point and grasped market share, from the big three or big four. I think that's going to happen again. These guys will see, another dawn of interest in their model, their operating model, and I think they're in a much stronger place to take advantage of that than maybe they were 12 years ago or so. So maybe that middle ground will get squeezed again, and the very premium guys will always do well because they always have done well, and maybe the value led retailers will do better than they've done in the past few years.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. And yeah, and we saw that through COVID as well, in terms of the retailers that had a brand to stand behind that was more than their price point. The likes of, I'm going to confidently say brands like Doc Martens, Vans. Those guys did ridiculously well because they have a clear brand strategy. They stand for something aside from their products. What you get is pure quality. And they were the first to adopt a lot of the measures that were expected of them. So they did the right thing by their customers as well. And I think any brand that's kind of done that through the last couple of years will continue to kind of accelerate and do well now. But you're absolutely right. In terms of the discount retail sphere, I fell in love with discount retail. Everybody would be laughing at me now if they're watching this. Well, I fell in love with discount retail like 15 years ago. And I think it's ironic because when times like this happen and you get the discount retailers put their big shoes on and wade out into the marketplace and do what they do best, they're already doing it. They've already practiced it. It's what they excel at. They don't need to change anything. They just need to knuckle down. When you see the big guys really trying to compete with them, it's almost quite funny. Like I do have a little laugh to myself sometimes when I see the bigger players, because they've got to get out of their comfort space to compete, and it generally finds a way of backfiring. But yeah, no, sounds like some really positive growth coming for retail, and especially for your clients. Like, I think you're positioned in a really good space for that.
No, listen, and it's very clear, isn't it? Brands that have got a clear identity, a clear set of principles, a clear purpose, they do really well. Modern consumers are looking for that. They're looking for that engagement, that attachment to something they can believe in as well. So you're right, these brands have got really clear identities, really clear sense of purpose, and maybe, there's always a drive about ESG in every sector at the moment, and retail obviously has to be at the forefront of every retail brand's proposition. It's how they face into the circular economy, how they face into what next generation consumers are looking for. And we have to, in our industry, in our sector, respond to that as well. Ascensos, people ask me what defines the characteristics of Ascensos, then that could be a clear sense of purpose and having principles as a business leader, and principles that run through the veins of the organisation. That's what helps set us apart. That is what creates the kind of the camaraderie, the sense of collective being in our business. Is a very clear sense from day one, a very clear sense of having principles about how we do business, how we conduct ourselves, with our colleagues, with our clients, with the community. But also a very clear sense of purpose about who we want to be. We want to compete with the global players. We want to compete on a global basis, but we want to do it in our own way, and not just to follow the leader. We think we can do that with our own style, with our own characteristics, our own personality, but we can still compete on that global stage. I think that sense of having principles and purpose is important in any organisation.
That's great to hear. And again, I hear a lot of echoes of internal conversations in what you say as well. And it just kind of very much aligns the two together. I guess, you've talked about the amount of growth that you guys have had and where you've had the growth. What's been the key driving factor between where you chose to have that growth? Because obviously you've got various sites around the world. What kind of drove you towards having the growth in the areas that you did?
To find solutions for problems, Paul. That's how we operate. We don't have any sort of predetermined view that we must have an operation in every continent. Listen, when I started Ascensos, we were very modest about. We just wanted to have an operation in Motherwell in Scotland, and swim in our own lane, really, and not really be wedded to any predetermined view of where we would be in 10 years' time, with a very clear sense of where we could get to in Scotland. But then you get presented with questions and challenges and problems that your clients bring to the table, that we need to be in a territory that allows us to service Western European languages. We need to be in a territory that allows us to provide an increased degree of cognizant skills, and cognitive skills, sorry, that allows us to service high-end product support and technical support type requirements. We need to be in a location now that services German and Dutch speaking markets, which drove us into Turkey. Turkey's a great location, to service German at scale, native language German at scale, but also Dutch, Arabic, and English languages we can service well out of Turkey. South Africa, obviously, you need to have an optimum cost and quality play for high quality neutral language English out of South Africa and at scale. The UK is where our home will always be. We're a UK business, we're a Scottish business. We've got operations throughout the UK now, still growing those operations in the UK. But we've been asked a lot of questions to deliver solutions that are for something a bit more specific: German, French, Italian, price point, scale. UK, everyone knows the UK BPO sector had a difficult year last year through cost of living increases, through the pressure on every job vacancy in the UK was at a premium. Ever since Brexit, there's been a change of European nationals who went back to their country of origin and left the hospitality industry with a vacuum. And we had to compete, as did some of our competition. The UK had to compete for every job at a much higher level than we've had to do in previous years. So you have to take all that in consideration. And when someone throws you a challenge that we need to ramp up by 400 FTE within a 8-week, 12-week period, could I do that in the UK last year? No. So I had to then look at how we could do that in South Africa, and that's exactly what we've done.
I see a great investment in your people in everything that you guys do. And it's clear, like from every point on your LinkedIn pages, from all the publicity that you guys do, that there's a very much a belief in the business of developing the talent that you've got and giving them the support that they need to get to the level where they need to be. Is that something that you see continuing to accelerate as you guys grow in terms of enabling you to compete in that market space?
It's the thing we're most proud of is our homegrown talent. 85% of our guys in management positions have started as customer-facing advisors in our business. We've got a great framework for that. We call it our talent spa. It's our L&D framework. We brand it as a talent spa. Spa is for start, progress, and advance, and everyone's on our journey through the talent spa within our business. Everyone can connect with it. Everyone understands, the route to success, the route to growth, and the route to career development within our business. And we've got lots of bright, talented, ambitious people. So we need to find a channel, that conveys that potential into into real career development for the guys. None more so than here in South Africa. I've just been out a couple of round tables with some of our guys here this morning, and they're bursting with energy, ambition, enthusiasm about how they can advance their careers super quick. How can turbocharge their careers. Now you have to kind of lay down some expectations about that. Not everyone's going to be the boss. We need people to do the job in hand, and you need to then just set some expectations that you can't all be a team manager or an ops manager or work in resource planning or QA or training or recruitment overnight. There has to be the guys that make the money for the company are obviously the customer facing advisors. Those are the guys who generate the income for Ascensos. It's not me or it's not our ops team. It's the customer facing advisors who make the money for our business and look after our clients and allow them to grow. So that job has to be done, but you just have to then calibrate and set those expectations. Yes, there is a route to progression, and that route is well mapped out.
Fantastic. When I joined TMAC and I saw what we were doing in a similar sort of space in terms of our coaching platform that we use, it's one of the things that really drew me to the business in the same way. So we might not have a huge team to be able to kind of focus on that development at the moment. We're still a relatively new business ourselves, but being able to offer that support to other businesses in terms of, taking the conversation away from whether the development conversations happened or not and focusing on what the outcomes from that development conversation were, is something that I wish I'd had that tool And that's why I know that like it's a good fit for us, because I can talk about it passionately, because I know I would have given my right hand for that tool in a retail environment. I just didn't have that tool to do that. So I think, in our own respective ways, like we're both kind of heading towards that thing from your side of things, kind of making sure that the people are getting that development and have that career path and moving it on. And from our side of things,
Here's the question, isn't it? Here's a challenge, not just for us, but for our industry and our sector. And I have said this before, that I've worked in this industry now for 25 years. And yet today, with all the things we've done, all the evolution, the developments, the technology evolution in our sector has been remarkable. But you still go into a school or a college and you talk about careers with kids, and they never say they want to work in BPO. It just doesn't happen. There's never once one person said to me, I want to work in the BPO sector. That's what I aspire to be. Now, there's something wrong there, isn't there? There's something wrong there that an industry that employs so many people across the globe and in the UK of the size and the impact that the BPO sector has, and the careers that we know that we can deliver, the careers that this industry has given me, the opportunity it's given my family as a result of the success that we've delivered in this sector. We're not reflecting that in aspirations with young people. And, it's partly my responsibility, it's partly your responsibility, the whole sector, the industry bodies that represent our sector have to kind of recognise this, that it still seems to be low quality, uninspiring, unambitious place to be. Albeit once you join this sector, a lot of people love it and we make the most of it. And we then give them the tools, the techniques, the capability to really generate really successful careers here. But we're not selling it well enough, Paul. We're just not selling it well enough. And until school kids of my daughter's age say to me, I really want to work in the BPO sector because it's interesting, it's sexy, it's cool, you can make good money, you can develop your career, then we're not doing our industry the service that it requires.
that's true. It's true. And I think if you go out to like, I think there's a very different view of it in starting to appear now in the South Africa environment, where it is seen as a career of choice and people do want to get into it and do want to do well at it. Maybe not on the whole, but like that conversation, that tide's turned, I think, in South Africa now. And it's
Well, in Romania, as an example, 90% of our colleagues at any level in Romania have got a bachelor's degree, and the jobs seem to be of much higher value than it is in the UK. And just in the context of in the wider job market and economy, it seemed to be a great place to work. Ascensos seemed to be an employer of choice, and the guys see it as a career that they really can advance themselves. They can develop a really strong career in our sector and make good money with it. And so we have to kind of face into that. It's a law of diminishing returns in the UK. And as someone who's very proud of our UK presence, very proud of what we've done in the UK, not just in Ascensos, but with BeCogent as well over a 20-odd year period. I think myself and some other industry leaders need to get our heads together and say, how can we change this? How can we solve this? And there are bodies that represent our industry, and maybe we need to lobby with them, to do more to promote what we're trying to achieve in the UK.
Yeah, I love that point. And yeah, absolutely. If there's anything that I myself or TMAC can assist with on that, like, yeah, it'd be good to be part of that journey. I'm very passionate about education in general and academia, and the British view on it, the UK view on it is it needs to change in general, and we do as a nation, we tend to look down on lower paid jobs in general. Like, it's not even just contact centers. I talk with many people, like, things like cleaning the bins, street cleaners. Everybody thinks it's a horrible job to have. Actually, where would we be if people didn't empty the bins? Like, whilst it's not a job you might aspire to be, why do we look down on those things? And I think when we look at the impact of Brexit and European workers going back to, you say, the country of origin, a lot of these jobs are now left open. Well, it's time that the UK people stepped up to those jobs. like they're nothing to be afraid of. And I'm a big believer that, we need to stop looking down on certain roles and jobs and become much less hierarchical as a nation, to be fair.
No, I couldn't agree more. And most of our clients thankfully operate in the same space, in the retail space, or we work with like quick service restaurants, as well. And they're the same challenges as the contact center industry does. If someone says you stack shelves in Asda or Tesco, that seems to be really demeaning, isn't it? But that's someone's job. That's how they pay. That's how they pay for their kids. That's how they pay for Christmas for the kids. How they pay their bills through stack shelf at Tesco or Asda. And I absolutely agree with you. There's a toxicity around that would all do well to kind of reconsider and change the narrative.
Absolutely. Love the conversation, John. I'm going to have to draw it to a close there, but thank you very much for your time today.
No, we're not out of time, are we? All right, what happened to Paul Weller?
No. We'll come back for a second episode in a
Sure,
couple
no
of
worries.
words. But yeah, it's been great to have you along. Thank you very much for your time. Some great insights there for anybody watching along. And we're taking a break next week. Unfortunately, guys, the problem of having a live show is I'm on holiday and LinkedIn don't like me streaming pre-recorded videos. So it'll be 2 weeks today when we reconvene. Hope to see you all then. Thanks very much. Thanks, John. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks.